Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome back to In the Trenches with Dr. Tammy. It is the holiday season, and I'm wishing each and every one of you a wonderful holiday, however you may choose to celebrate. I want to do a quick reminder as we get started to remember people who we consider to be our strong folks. Check on them because sometimes they're not okay. Just check in with them really quickly to make sure that all is well. And that's my spiel on that for today. I want to begin a discussion today that is quite a bit courageous. You know, when I first started the podcast, I talked to each of you about the different types of topics that I would like to discuss each week. So this week, we're going to pivot a bit from the romantic relationships, but still going to discuss a relationship, okay? And it is, for me, let me give this disclaimer. For me, this is a very sensitive topic. It's very near and dear to my heart, and it is one that I hope that you will be able to receive and have a bit more understanding of others as they go through certain things. And because of the sensitivity of the topic, I came prepared today with some water, my favorite, Runneth water. Thank you, Fred, Dr. Antoine Dwayne Jones, for providing me with water as always. And then I also brought some tissues just in case I need it because, again, this topic is very, very near and dear to my heart. I took some notes so that I can stay on track because, again, I may be touched a bit as I discuss this. So today we're gonna start by saying that many people talk about dads who are either not active in their daughter's life or they are perceived to be 100% absent, and sometimes they may be 100% absent from their life altogether. Many people will say that this leaves the daughters searching for love, okay? That the father wasn't available to them and they don't really know what that love should look like, and they often search for it in the wrong places because their dad, their father, or father figure did not provide that for them. Others will say that these dads need to be more active in their children's lives. Well, guess what? That is not what this episode is about. This episode is going to be a courageous conversation about the mother-daughter dynamic that is either rarely ever discussed or never ever discussed at all. Because you see, some of those same negative connotations that we like to say, discuss, share when it comes to dads and fathers and their position in their daughters' lives, we never hardly ever hear anybody discuss that when it comes to mothers. So today, we're focusing on that breakdown and the mother and the daughter dynamic. Okay? So let's talk for a second. I might ruffle a few feathers, but you already know that I am doing that with love, and I want you to think more. I want us to not be led by just what society says or just what we see on social media and we need to be fair in our assessments of both mothers and fathers. And we need to move from judgment to help, assistance, and understanding. So let's get to it. A mother's disapproval, absence, or rarely ever being there for their daughter is also detrimental. And I'm even talking about moms who might actually even be inside the home. You see, I have actually done quite a bit of research on this topic. And if you know me and you know my story, then you know that I have discussed this on multiple occasions. You know that the relationship between my mother and I, it is strained to almost non-existent. And so before you get upset with me, before you get mad, I need you to understand that my mother is very much aware that I share my story, if for nothing else but to empower someone else to do better as a mother, or to encourage the daughter or daughters who are going through it in such a manner that they will understand that they will be able to live through it, come out on the other end in a better place than they could have ever imagined. So what I want you to know about relationships that are not as great as we would like between a mother and a daughter, and sometimes actually even detrimental to the daughter in ways such as self-esteem, feeling unloved, looking for a connection. It's tough. It's tough. And I need you to understand that there is not an age limit that comes along with the memories of being mistreated or not seen. Because for me, I often felt unseen, unheard, unloved, unimportant. And quite honestly, I think that we forget to even, give me a moment, that we forget to even just remember that as a child, it's hard for them to conceptualize or to understand that the person who you believe should love you the most in the entire world maybe does not. In my research, I found that while a mother may actually carry a child for up to 9 months, because some mothers give birth sooner than the 9 months, they may not bond with that child while they're carrying that child in their womb. They may not even have a bond with that child after that child has been born. And with my own mother, I found that my mother seemed and still seems to lack the capacity to actually love all of her children. And that's something that's hard to accept. It's certainly something that's very difficult to say out loud. But I need to share this with you all because I need you to know that the dynamic can be difficult. It can be hard to understand. And again, it can be hard to receive. With regard to my own mom, our relationship isn't practically non-existent because I chose for it not to be, or because I don't want there to be a relationship with my mom. I absolutely do. I am 54 years old, as most of you know, and I have spent most of my life trying to build a connection with my mother. Making phone calls, showing up, being there if she needed anything. But again, just like any other human being, a mother may not have that capacity to pour into you, to care for you, to nurture you in the manner in which a mother is supposed to do. And for me, I learned that unfortunately the hard way. You see, my mother was mean. That's the word we're going to use. She was mean. And I laugh about it some now because I can, at least for the moment, I'm able to laugh more than cry about it. Because for many, many years, I couldn't even have the discussion without the tears starting to roll down my face. Most of what I remember happening with me took place early, but then just continued on. The older I became, the meaner I perceived my mom to be. Let me give you an example. In my senior year in high school, I almost forgot my own name. Let me tell you why. My mom would refer to me by every single derogatory or negative name that a young lady or a woman could be called. So I laugh about it at this point because I think back and go, wow, when did she ever really actually call my name? It was all of these other things that really are unimaginable words to be used when it comes to referring to your child or talking to your child. I remember thinking about how I wanted to have the relationship with my mom growing up. Like I wanted to go shopping with her or just sit around and just have girl talk about boys, talk about school, talk about what was going on with my friends. Those were never really things that my mother was interested in. My mom was a young mom when I was born. So essentially, by the time I became a teenager, she was at an age where she was ready to go out and have a good time. And that she did. She had a very good time. I, on the other hand, I did not. My high school years were mostly spent at home. I can count on one hand the number of football games that I was allowed to attend. I didn't have a whole lot of friends, but I did have a couple of really close friends who, get this, were going through some very similar things, such as myself. So I suppose that's where our connection grew. But one of the things that I want you to know that in that relationship with my mom, because it was a relationship, it just wasn't a positive one, it was damaging in a way because as a young lady, I became very guarded and how I saw other women, which is why even to this day, I don't have a whole lot of friends. I have associates, and I have some very close friends who know my story, as you often hear me say, or my journey, because it is one that was filled with a lot of pain. And quite honestly, when you hear this, I don't want you to feel sorry for me in any kind of way, because again, it is my hope, it is my prayer that someone will see this and say, oh my God, she went through a lot, but she made it out okay. You know, conversations I wanted to have with my mom, I couldn't have because, again, there was the name calling, there was the cursing, there was the physical part of it all. Out of the blue, I could be sitting on the couch and just out of the blue, wham. I didn't even know what I had done, what the reason that I may actually be being hit, had no clue. And then, as I shared with you earlier, she would go out and enjoy herself, and that was perfectly okay. She would do that. But when she would come home, my siblings and I, we would be sleeping. Yet she'd make her way to my room, wake me, call me those names, and that's when the hitting would begin. And bear with me, y'all. It was always in one place, just in this area of my body, because at least I'm going to assume that the more I thought about it as an adult, this was an area that when you go to school, no one's looking for bruises. No one's looking to see if there's an injury here, especially for girls. No one's looking for that. And you may say, oh my God, you should have told somebody. You should have. I probably should have, but we were raised, and I don't know if any of you are my age or from the country. What happens in this house stays in this house. That's how we were raised. So I didn't tell it. I knew it was wrong. I dealt with it, tried to protect my siblings, although, get this, it was all me. And I never understood that. I never understood why the abuse, the physical and the verbal abuse, was all directed towards me. So, my mom, again, is still my mom. I believe that she does lack that capacity to give that love. I hope that she's able to get there one day, because I talked to her about that. The few times that she will answer the phone call, once we get past some of the pleasantries, and she tells me who all has passed away in my hometown or who's sick, Annie Mae or Pearly Sue or whomever in the neighborhood is not doing so well. We have had those moments in which we have had some very detailed discussions. Sadly, there is selective amnesia at times. Then there are times in which she does recall the things that took place, but doesn't necessarily apologize or say that she was wrong. And I know you all are probably saying, you are 54 years old, lady. She does not need to apologize. She doesn't. But an acknowledgement and a path forward is always a great way to go. Because I am not upset with my mom. I'm not. I will say that for a very, 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 very long time, I did not understand it. I didn't know what to do with what I was feeling. I knew that I learned from her that I wanted to be a different kind of mom. You know, when I read the research, the literature, I hear people talk about generational curses. I hear people talk about learned behavior. You know, I hear them say that it could be a cycle of behavior because a person's mom may have done this or a person's mom may have done that. I won't go into a huge overview of each of those things on this episode, but I want to say this, that for me, I decided that whether it was any of those three things that I just listed, that I would be different because I felt that we are all given a choice. We have to decide how we want to live, what we want to do, and how we should move forward. And I chose to be a mom who was intentional about showing love to my kids. I was going to make sure that they understood that I was always there for them. You know, even though I myself had taken a few wrong turns, you know, relationship wise with men. I chose men who were not emotionally available to me, both in my marriage and as you know, I spoke about the gentleman after that, and that term is being used loosely because if you watch the previous episodes, you know that he turned out not to be anywhere near a gentleman. But I made some poor choices, and I think that a lot of that goes back to what we were saying about how daughters may choose because they're in search of something. I never actually felt that I was in search of anything, but clearly, I must have been. So as I self-reflect on those times in my life, I look back and go, that was one of those moments. That was one of those moments when I should have made a different choice when it comes to relationships. And I'm going to do better. I want you all to walk away from this knowing a few things. One, yes, I absolutely do love my mom. I want to have a relationship with her. I want to continue to be a good mom myself. And trust me, I know that if you're a mom right now and you have small kids and you're working or you're in school, it's tough. Work can be frustrating. You know, school can be frustrating. Your relationships can be frustrating with your spouse, your significant other, whatever it may be. But I ask you to do this. I ask you to remember that while all of those things are very, very tough, do your extreme very best to remember that the children are separate from those things. Because what we tend to forget is that these children are going to be a part of society, you know, and we want them to be able to be productive citizens. We want them to be well-rounded. We want them to be healed and not have to actually go through a process of healing because it's difficult. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This lady right here, I'm an advocate for therapy. So I've been there. I still, when I need to, there is nothing better than sharing and releasing that information, and then learning some things, some coping skills, if nothing else. But just remember this: take care of yourselves as moms, take care of your kids. But if you need help, get help. That's okay. It's okay. Life's experiences can beat you down. But as a mom, we want to try to show up for our children. And you notice I didn't say as a good mom, because we don't want the name call. We just want to be mothers. We want to be present. We want to provide for our children safe environments, one where they can blossom and grow into the productive adults that we all like to see. I'm going to stop there. I may continue a bit more next week on this topic, if indeed you all would like for me to do so. But again, I want us to stop talking negatively about a dad or negatively about a mom. I want us to reach out to these folks. I want us to provide support for them. I want us to send them in direction of resources. Let's stop talking about each other and help them. Let's get some help. So from one mother to another, I got you. If you need me, you can find me on social media. I am available for you. I've been there as a mom, and I tried my very, very best. I have been in a difficult situation as a daughter. As you've heard some of the story, there is so much more to be told. The beauty of it is I'm still smiling. I'm still smiling. I possess the capacity to love not just my children, because Lord knows I love those 3 babies, although they're grown. But I still have the capacity to want to share my heart with someone else. And I think that's a really, really big step. The last thing I'm going to share with you is this. When I am in therapy, I do still discuss things such as the loneliness or the feeling of being unimportant. Those things still make me sad. But the therapy helps. It provides me an outlet, the ability to learn and reflect, because I am a big proponent on reflecting on my actions and my thoughts, because I need you to remember that sometimes unintentionally we can hurt others around us because we're going through something, and we don't want to do that either. So if you need help, get help. And again, I'm here for you. I know this episode lasted a bit longer than we normally go, but I certainly hope that sharing a bit of my journey with you, sharing a bit of my story with you, gives you hope, gives you a sense of relief if you're experiencing any of the things I experienced, or you are a mom who just needs to reach out and talk to somebody. I'm here. I'm here. Happy Friday to each and every one of you. Remember that you got this. We're in this together. Much love, much love, much, much